Alright, hi everyone, welcome back to another tutorial of Salesforce Makes Sense. This is Himanshu and we are continuing our Lightning Web Components masterclass. In the previous tutorial, we started understanding the import commands in LWC. We imported static resource, labels and SVG, and in this video, we are going to import the current logged in users information. So yes, even that can be done in LWC without having to call the backend at all. Okay. Similar to how we understood in the previous tutorial that @Salesforce module has to be used for resource URL is for static resource, label is for custom labels, resource URL can also be used for SVG. Now, if we were to look at the current user information, @Salesforce/user is good enough to give you the information. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are on our Lightning Web Components, right? So let's go ahead and try to see who is the person who's currently logged in. So right now, if you see, Himanshu is the person who's logged in, right? But I want to see that information on LWC because I want to make some decisions based on that. There could be use cases, right? Based on the logged in persona, you have to take some decisions, correct? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say import user info from, I'm going to use the Salesforce module /user/ I'm going to take the ID information. Okay, or let's say I'll pick up the name of the user. All right, I'll say user name. All right, there's some issue with the name here. It's saying username is declared, but its value is never read. Okay, no worries. I'm going to go ahead and use it. So I'm going to say, let's go back to my keynote. I'm just making sure that I'm using the right. Yes, it is Salesforce/user. Okay, so now I am going to assign it to a variable. All right, done, but it's still throwing an error. So it's saying @user/name. There could be some error here. That's okay. We'll look at it. For now, let's use the user ID. Let's see if this is getting displayed or not. First of all, let's not take this. Okay, we'll look at the documentation for it, and I'll say this is the user ID. And what I can do is I can simply say the current logged in user is, and I can use the user ID variable. Okay, this user ID variable is mapped to the import variable, and that is referencing the @Salesforce module, looking at the current user record and fetching the ID. All right, let's go ahead and say deploy. So I'm continuing on the same LWC because it is also an import scenario. I'll not create a different component. All right, so if you see 005 is a user record, and if I were to paste it here, Himanshu's user record should start popping up or showing up. So let's see. I've pasted the record ID in the advanced user details. You'll see this is Himanshu Maheshwari. Correct. So this is how you are able to get this information on the LWC in the runtime without having to query or do any kind of back-end work. That's the whole idea of this import code. That's good enough, and we can later use a UI record API interface in LWC to fetch more information about this user. Okay, we'll look at it later, but right now you have this information available handy with you that okay, this who is the current logged in user. Perfect, great. Next, what we would like to also check is whether, how do I check if this particular logged in user has a specific permission set assigned or not? All right, so even that can be done without calling the backend, right? So I can take a look at the permission by using @Salesforce/user permission. Okay, so I'm going to use this particular nomenclature, and I can check whether this particular user has a specific permission or not. Has permission from, and I'm going to paste this here, and I'm going to put my permission set name here. So once you have this permission set name, if it is assigned to your current user, it is going to return true or false accordingly. Okay, let's see. Has permission enabled equals this flag, and here I'm just going to say custom permission set. I'll just copy this name and I'll go to Salesforce and I'll create a permission set first so that it works, right? So you need to have a permission set created first, and then you need to assign it to the user, right? So I'll go ahead and say permission set. Let's create a new permission set here, and I'm going to say new I'll call it custom permission set with spaces, then the API name will automatically be with underscore, and I'll say save. So my custom permission set is created, right? But I have not assigned the user yet. So let's go back to VS Code, and here import has permission. So this permission flag should evaluate to false. Okay, let's see what is the value showing up for this permission. I just want to check whether the permission is enabled or not. Let's say deploy. Let's go back to Salesforce and let's refresh our component. So the current user ID is here. And what about the permission set? Let's go back home. So does he have the permission set enabled? There's nothing showing up here. Okay. What if I were to, let me do this. Let me first of all print that value out, because that value is not really showing anything here, right? Has permission enabled. Let's see, has permission enabled, right? So let's check get has permissions, and I'm going to return whatever is the value of has permission that's coming. Okay, let's get rid of this particular variable, because now we have a getter. We can use the getter directly here. Okay, instead of a variable, I'm using a getter return. Here I'll just go ahead and print it out also, so that I can see imported from permission set, and I'll say just give me whatever value does this contains. Okay, let's see. So we are trying to debug what is happening, and then accordingly we'll take a call of whether to mark it true or false accordingly or not. All right, let's refresh. Let's close this, go back to the home page, and let's open our inspect element, go to the console, and you see it is currently undefined. So it's not returning anything properly. Okay, looks like the import is not working. All right, let's go back. And before trying out something, let's try to assign the permission set to this user. Okay, so what we are going to do is go here, manage assignments, and we'll assign the permission set to this user. Let's see if the value changes or not. If it does not, there might be an issue in the code. We'll debug it then. So I'll say add assignment, and let me just go ahead and choose Himanshu. Next, assign, and assignment is done. All right, done. Now a user is assigned. If I were to clean this up, reduce the size of the console a bit, go up, refresh one more time. Let's see what does this show. Let's close this tab. So it is still showing undefined, meaning there's something wrong with the code, right? So what we are going to do is we are going to check import user permission. What is the issue here? Maybe we have missed another namespace or something. Let's see, import user permission, and I'm going to say @Salesforce /user permission. Let's see this. So what does it say? It says import has permission from /user permission name. So now this permission name looks like it is a system permission. So the example they've given is a view setup. But what if I wanted to check if a permission set is available? Looks like that's not available, right? So for now, what I'll do is I'll try to do the same example, and I'll try to access a specific permission. Now what is a permission? If I were to go to Salesforce, if I go to this record here, Himanshu, he is assigned to a profile, correct? So this profile is system administrator. In the system administrator profile, there are permissions available, which are user permissions. These are the user permissions, correct? So if you want to check any specific permission here, you can check that by that import command. That's what the system is trying to say. It's not a permission set. I might have to check it if permission sets are allowed, but this permissions are definitely allowed. Okay, so if I were to look at view setup and configuration, this is available. It is marked as checked. So if I were to verify it with view setup, it should give you true if it is available. If the person has access to the view setup permission, this will evaluate to true and it will show it to you. Waiting for the deployment to happen. Done. Let's refresh and let's see what the value is showing on the console and on the screen. So you see the value is showing as true, meaning it is allowing you to access user permissions, not permission sets. Alright, what you can also do is via permission set, if you are giving a user permission, you can verify for that, but you are not able to verify permission set specifically. That's what we know as of now. Alright, but this is how you are going to actually check if a specific user has a specific permission. Based on that, you can take a decision or take a call, show something, hide something. You can do those kind of scenarios. Alright, now I had a list of what kind of imports are available. Let me quickly check. You see, custom permission is also available here. User permission is there, user is there, resource URL we did, label we did. You have custom permission also available. So custom permission, what are custom permissions? You can look at custom permissions like, let me take an example of custom permission and let's see if it returns true or false or not. Right? So if you see, you can use custom permission similar to user permission, and if you have a specific permission on as a custom permission enabled for you, this flag will basically be true or false accordingly. Alright, what is a custom permission? If you see here, you will see another set of custom permissions. So you see, custom permissions are currently disabled, no custom permissions is enabled. But if you create something custom and you enable it here, you can check whether that custom permission is given to the user or not. The only change you have to make is what? You have to just go in and just replace user permission with custom permission. Where will this come in handy? When you are handling any kind of unlocked or a managed or an unmanaged package and you're giving any kind of extra permissions around it. Okay, that's when this might come in handy, the custom permissions. Cool? Great. Going back to our tutorial, let's go back. And yes, I think that's all I wanted to cover as part of this tutorial. So what we can also do is talk about the form factor and internationalization in the same tutorial, and we'll conclude with what kind of imports are possible. Right? Now, what is form factor? Form factor is nothing but the kind of device you are operating on. Right? So if you were to apply any kind of design based on the device that the person is logged in, this comes in handy. Okay, let me just fix this UI a bit. The logged in user does the permission. I'll just move the image down and I'll keep it here. I'll put a BR tag and this should look a bit better. Let's see. Let's deploy. Refresh. Better. All right, so looks better, but now what is our ask? Our ask is basically to look at the form factor. So how do you import the form factor? Similar to how you have imported everything else, you will use the import command from, and for as of now you know that it is going to be Salesforce / correct. This time it is going to be form factor. All right, and if I were to take this import and create a variable called device info, I can just assign it to a variable and map it to the variable of the import command. What is the form factor import that we have to do? It is basically Salesforce / client. All right, so Salesforce / user / resource URL / label / client, because you're looking at the form factor of the client and what kind of device that person is operating. If I were to take this particular variable and look at it on the HTML just to verify what kind of device it is, we'll be able to check it very quickly. Let's say deploy. Refresh. So you see the device factor is large, meaning I'm on a large screen. Accordingly, you can adjust and set up your CSS. Alright, so this is going to show you small, medium, large based on the kind of device you are on. That's form factor for you. Alright, great. That was around form factor. You can actually look at the kind of device the user is operating and kind of it will help you for designing your CSS accordingly, because you might want to put one card below the other in a mobile device, but you want to put them side by side on a desktop device. So based on this form factor, you can take a call. Make sense? What else can you get from the LWC import? You can actually get information about the locale, language, directory, and the currency as well, right? And that comes from the I18N module, which is the internationalization module from the Salesforce. So what we are going to do, we are going to get that information as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this line and I'll just go ahead and say import lang. All right, and I'm going to use I18N and just say give me my lang information. Okay, I can get the locale information similarly. All right, I'll just put it on two variables so that we can see it, and use this variable in my HTML or any kind of decision making that I have to do. Is this the variable name? Let's quickly verify. Language locale info. No, so this should be language, this should be locale info. Looks good. Let's deploy and let's see what these two imports show. Okay, another good practice to keep is basically keep all of your variable names capitalized for what you are importing, so that you know, okay, this is coming from an import statement. It will not confuse with a local variable. That's why you are noticing that I am keeping everything as capital when I'm importing something. Make sense? Let's go ahead and say deploy. Deployed fine. Let's refresh. Now this tab is opening all the time. Let's go back to home, and if you see, the device factor is large, the language information is English US, the locale info is EN-US. All right, so I'm getting this information. How about the currency? Can I get the currency as well? Yes. So I'll just go ahead and import the currency information also. Where does it come from? It comes from the same I18N, so internationalization module. All right, I can take it from the currency namespace. Let's go ahead and say deploy, and I'll take the currency info and I'll put it here. Deploy. Close, close, go back, refresh and save. Let's see. What is the currency info? USD. All right, so it's able to pick up the information of the currently logged in user, and it is able to give you the information around it. All right, now based on this currency, you can actually show any kind of, what do you call it, numbers or graphs or percentage. You can use the currency info, right? And based on the locale or the language, you can actually show some sort of message. If you have multiple messages or multiple languages configured or multiple currency configured, this is very helpful information. Cool. I'll just align my content a bit so that it looks a bit more neat. All right, and I'll just put these guys on a P tag so that they are also placed properly on the layout and they look a bit more neat. Deploy. I'll just take the class, copy it for my P tags also. Save, deploy, refresh. Right, looks a bit more neat and looks a bit more clear, right? So permission set enabled, not permission set, but custom and user permissions, the logged in user's ID, the lang, locale, currency, directive information, and using custom labels, static resources, SVGs to dynamically show information on your HTML. That was all about imports. Now in terms of what is the total syllabus of what all can you do from the imports, I have it listed down here. You can probably take a screenshot and just refer it so that you know. If something from the community you need, from the network side, something from the message channel, that we'll look at later. Schema we'll look at later when we are doing database related work. User we saw. Apex we'll see later. Whenever you have to call a Apex controller, you have to use the @Salesforce Apex module. Okay, so this is how you are able to use the Salesforce namespace and get a lot of information without even having to write a single line of code on the server side. That was the whole idea of the tutorial. Please make note that you have these variables capitalized so that they are easily identifiable in your code, that they are coming from the import statement, and always see that you are using the @Salesforce module for all of this information. You don't have to mug up all of this. You simply have to just know what kind of information you need, and you can pick up the module from the browser, all right, from your Google or whatever browser you're using. Just try to hit that information and try to take this particular line of code. Not a big issue. All right, great. I think that's all I wanted to cover as part of the import statements. That covers the import bit. I hope this was helpful. To comment imports make sense, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.